Welcome to another episode of the cut content of Spec Ops The Line. And this is a very hyped up episode, one that I've been looking forward to making for a while. We're going to talk about the cut flamethrower weapon that was supposed to appear in Spec Ops. This originally showed up in trailers for the game. You can see some images and some gameplay of Walker holding and using a flamethrower on enemies. It's unclear of how exactly it would function in-game. Based on the circumstances, it seems like Walker would have been able to just pick up and use it like any other weapon, probably with a limited fuel reservoir on hand. That was the only place it really appeared, though. It seems like it might have just been made for the trailer. That's what I thought at first, just like the AUG from one of the early trailers for the game. But going through the game files, it turns out that this most likely was intended for use in the final game. There are references to it among the weapons list, just like where you can find the PKM and AT4. There are two listings for the flamethrower, one that Walker can use and one that the AI can use. Sort of like how there's an AI variant for the RPG and the SAW and so on and so forth. So there probably would have been a special version for enemies that maybe they would have used sporadically or not as frequently, so they wouldn't just overwhelm the player with firepower. There's also a pickup icon for it. Unlike those weapons, the AT4, PKM, and hunting rifle, there are no references to the AUG in the game's files. I'm assuming that was just made for the CGI trailer. But the flamethrower is referenced among the game files. And judging by the fact that it looks like gameplay where Walker's using it, it seems like it might have been actually intended for the game, not just made for the trailers. The reasons why it was cut are unknown. If I had to guess, maybe they had a tough time balancing it. Flamethrowers in video games can be all over the place. They can be really good, like in Killing Floor or Rising Storm, or they can be really bad and short-ranged, like in Haze, for instance. It could have also just been that it wouldn't have fit thematically with the game, for Walker to just be running around burning people and then be horrified by the white phosphorus bombing. So placing it before or after the incident probably wouldn't have meshed well with the game's themes. That should be the end of the story, but concept art of the game was later released, including models of a heavy enemy intended for a DLC. It's unknown what this DLC would be. My guess is the Cut Adams one, but this enemy is a heavy flamethrower character that you would have fought this version of the damn 33rds heavy. It would carry a special flamethrower and wear an EOD suit. So it seems like they were considering reviving it for one of the DLCs. Since there's only one DLC known that didn't get released, the Adams one, my assumption is that it would have popped up there. Maybe fighting against rogue elements of the 33rd while Adams and that private from the damn 33rd tried to escape Dubai and signal for rescue. And I guess at that point, since Adams would have been so burnt out and ready to die from the conflict, I don't think he would really care about burning people alive with a flamethrower. Unfortunately, though, the Adams DLC was ultimately cut. You can read more about it, and you can read the ending to it in Walt Williams' novel Significant Zero. It's more about his experiences with the video game industry, and there's a section about Spec Ops The Line and its troubled development, and about the DLC plan. Sort of like how The Darkness 2 didn't get any DLC either, despite it being part of the game's menu. I think 2K didn't like how Spec Ops or The Darkness 2 sold, so they just cut out any plans for DLC. I think they did this later on with Borderlands, the pre-sequel, where they only released like one big DLC instead of several ones they had planned. But getting off that tangent, it seems like the flamethrower was a clear-cut weapon meant for the game, and it would have been an interesting addition. There's nothing quite like it in the game's arsenal. It would have been a good area denial tool, especially if the flames would have stuck around on surfaces after you fired it. But I'd imagine it'd be like the SAW, where it would rarely pop up and you would need to fight a difficult enemy to grab it for yourself. How do you think it would work, and where all do you think it would pop up if it had showed up in the original game or in the Adams DLC? I'd love to hear what you guys think. It's a strange thing to see, especially because I had underestimated its importance, or at least how far it had gotten. It seems like it would have actually been a weapon you would use. Anyway, that's all I've got on the Flamethrower. It's definitely unique, and I would have loved to have seen, was it playable? Was it in a state where you could actually use it at any point or any build in the game? That is an interesting question. I'm not sure we'll ever get an answer to it, but it definitely makes me wonder, just like the rest of the cut content in this game. Anyway, thanks for tuning in and listening to another episode of the cut content of Spec Ops The Line. But guys, have a good one.